It's your eye health experts, Prevent Blindness Texas, and welcome to Eyespiring, a conversation about all things vision and life.
Hi, and welcome to Eyespiring. I'm your host, Heather Patrick, the CEO and president of Prevent Blindness Texas. And today we have Melissa Simon, who is a longtime friend of mine, but also a wonderful and I would say world-renowned nonprofit leader, but definitely on the volunteer management and development side. Expertise is phenomenal. So we're going to talk all things CEO today. So with that, Melissa is a CEO for Casa de Esperanza de los Ninos, and you'll say it better than I did. She has 34 years of, I love how you phrase this, progressively responsible experience in the social sector. And, you know, we met through volunteer management class, teaching that class at Rice. So she's also a teacher, professor, instructor, and she holds a Master of Social Work degree. So, and she has an interesting background. I'm going to let her tell you more about that. But with that, I am just super excited to have this conversation and talk about servant leadership. I think ultimately that's kind of the theme that weaves through your career and our experience and what we teach and how I think we approach our work. So I look forward to this. All right. So Melissa, tell us all things you.
All things me?
All things you.
Well, I guess professionally, I had to giggle when you said progressively responsible, because isn't that really how your career and your job duties should go, depending on the trajectory that you want. But I did start out after undergraduate, and I went to Sam Houston and got my undergraduate degree in criminal justice with a minor in sociology. And I was one of the few people in that program that wasn't going for law enforcement. So I wasn't going to work in the prison as a guard, and I wasn't going to do work on a police force. I wanted to do rehabilitation. And so when I graduated, I got my licensed chemical dependency certification, and I worked with children who were in usually like middle school in the alternative schools. And that progressed to like working with children and families who were involved in the system. So juvenile probation, boot camps. And by that time I had young kids of my own, and I burned out really quickly. It was really hard. I was, a lot younger. You get into this field and you think you can fix everyone and you're just going to have this huge impact. And I started really thinking about what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and really decided that I wanted to impact a bigger systems policy, that kind of thing, which led me to getting my master's degree in social work from University of Houston. Go Cougs. And what I really thought I'd be doing, and I'm kind of glad I'm not now, what I really thought I'd be doing would be working in Washington, impacting policy. And that didn't work out. For different reasons. And I quite by accident, which I hear all the time from other development professionals, fell into fundraising. And that was really because I was writing grant proposals. And that's really how I got into the development field. But because I had that program background, it really gave me a great perspective and kind of a leg up when it came to working in social service agencies as an MSW with that kind of wide range of experience. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I didn't go into development, and I fell into, I say, the nonprofit space too, because it's not where I started. I really hadn't even considered it as a career. But now I've been here for 20 plus years. But I did start on, actually I started on the finance side. and then into the program side, and eventually into fundraising too. But I do think it is, I think it does give you the advantage and perspective when you've been on the program side and you're trying to have people invest in your impact. Right. You just can, I think, articulate it differently.
Absolutely. I mean, the mission sucks you in, and I'm a big proponent that, especially when you're working in nonprofit, because that's all I've ever done.
Yeah.
Working in an organization where the mission doesn't speak to you would be torture, absolute torture. But I always knew I would do nonprofit, and I think just people have asked me why, and I think a lot of it has to do with just watching my dad, especially. I grew up Catholic, and so he was always volunteering, always at our school, and I just watched him. It was all by example. But I think also it all stems from belonging and wanting to belong, and having some experiences when I was younger of not feeling like I belonged, and then just really having empathy for other people who don't belong. And that's what I see every single day in my work, is people who, for whatever reason, don't belong somewhere, and need a little bit of compassion and help to get where they need to be.
So let's talk about your role and your organization. Tell us, what you do, what your organization does, and your pathway to get there.
Okay, well,
the straight lane that you took to get to CEO.
You know what? I'm going to go there first, because I was actually driving to a meeting in Austin last week with a colleague who also runs a nonprofit foster care agency. And we were talking about the younger generation, I don't know, staff, employees, and the fact that very often they'll kind of make comments to us about, where we are now. And I want to make that kind of money because, in nonprofit, you're just really, but just the sense that I should be there right now when I'm 25. And we both looked at each other, and the bottom line is we're where we are really because we never said no.
Yeah.
We just did things. I can't tell you how many internships I worked for no pay, how many projects I took on. I've been an IT director. I've implemented a database, and that was definitely not my job and not on my job description. But at the end of the day, what you're able to say you can do and demonstrate you can do is pretty much anything anyone asks you to do. And I think the big takeaway from that is, even if you don't know how to do everything, you now know where to go to find out how to do it and who to ask.
Yeah.
But Casa de Esperanza is a foster care agency, and we have been around for almost 44 years. We've, just like most nonprofits, evolved from a very grassroots, what you might say mom and pop organization with very passionate co-founders, Kathy Foster and Bill Jones, who really just wanted to keep kids safe. They saw in their work, they saw mostly single mothers who were really struggling to hold it together, to put food on the table, and their children were the ones who were suffering, from neglect, abuse, or at risk of that. And so they started in one house. Here, bring your children here. We'll watch them. We'll work with you on getting a job, that kind of thing. And over the years, obviously, it's expanded. And we have our own, we're a child placing agency. What that means is that we have foster homes, and we have our own foster care neighborhood with several homes in it. And, there's been all kinds of changes, pendulum swings with any kind of system. It goes from one end to the other. And so what Casa has done really well over the years, and why it survived, is adaptation, innovation. When HIV and AIDS came on the scene, those children whose parents maybe were infected or they were sick, were not allowed to go to school. So Casa opened a school. they took in those kids. There were a lot of parents who sadly died, and Casa was able to take in those children and adopt them out into loving families. So it's just, always been a situation where something happens and there's a need, and we're able to turn and do that. I came in originally as the Chief Development Officer about 8.5 years ago, and became CEO. It'll be 5 years, July 1st. And I came in behind a founder and then an interim CEO who recruited me, but who had also been here for about 26 years. And so what I stepped into was an agency, like a lot of CEOs these days are going to be stepping into, founder-led agencies. And there's obviously nothing wrong with that. It's just it's a challenge because, when you do need to make decisions that are different than the way it's always been, there are inherent challenges with that.
I think that is true. If the CEO has been there a long time or you have a founder, right, it gets back to it's so interesting to me because in some ways the culture is so steeped in, we've always done it this way. But then you also have this remarkable sense of watching organizations also respond and get creative and see innovation. And so it's interesting, this dichotomy of kind of, we've always done it this way, right? On one hand, but then you see these groups that are just remarkably innovative and flexible. And so it's, I think as a CEO, part of it is kind of finding that middle piece, right? Of how do we really strike that balance of honoring some things that have worked and should stay and continue. And then, not always chasing the shiny thing, but what can we take that is innovative and incorporate it into what we're doing. And I do think that is one of the largest challenges and opportunities being in this seat.
Absolutely. I think what you said about honoring the past is very important, and not letting that stop you from doing what needs to be done, especially when the environment around you changes, which it always is. And I can speak for child welfare. Like I said, it's always been a pendulum swing, but especially in the last 10 or 15 years, there's just been huge shifts. And, our mission is to keep kids safe. And I mean, I'm very much shortening that mission, but that's the bottom line. And so in order for us to do that and to strengthen families, we have to adapt to what's happening around us.
Yeah. So with all of that, how do you stay grounded, right? Because one, the role itself, small nonprofit, large nonprofit, I think just in the sector, especially in this environment over the last 1.5, 2 years, right, is really challenging. But then given what the organization also focuses on, right, I think probably there are some days that are pretty emotional, pretty intense, right? So how do you keep yourself grounded?
Wow. Kind of a loaded question. Well, I mean, I think, first and foremost, just understanding what the mission is and what I've been charged with. I keep that first and foremost. But I'm a very, very talented compartmentalizer. And so to preserve my own energy, mental health, I'm dedicated to, I make a calendar appointment with myself every morning at 4:00 a.m. Because that's when I can work out. And if I don't do it then, it doesn't happen. But that's my own time with myself. And I know that that's done. And then I can move on with my day and really focus on what needs to happen at work. Obviously, Heather, when you're a CEO, it's 24/7. But that doesn't mean that I'm thinking about work all the time. And there may be CEOs out there who do. I would not survive that way. I mean, this is a marathon, right? Not a sprint.
A great way to put it.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think, being able to kind of focus and think, which is not an easy thing to do because we're always so mired in our tasks and getting our work done, right? But being able to just sit and have time to think and think big, that's how I do it. I think as far as, the subject content, if you would, I mean, we deal with traumatized children and traumatized families. We have secondary trauma with our staff. And just really keeping that front of mind, being kind to ourselves and one another, making sure that we have self-care. We've worked really, really hard on our staff culture and just encouraging people to take their PTO. And I'm not as great at it as a lot of people are, but I'm trying to get better. Making sure that I do things with my friends and family and kids and grandkids and my dog, all the things that people do to stay grounded.
Yeah. So what does success look like to you now versus what you thought about it earlier in your career?
Oh, well, we already touched on the subject of I was going to save the world.
Right.
In fact, my husband says that to me a lot. You can't save the world. You can't say no, but you know what success looks like to me now is really realizing you can impact the circle around you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned teaching, and that's how you and I first met each other. That feeds me. And every time I think I don't have time to do this anymore, I just remember how I feel when I walk out of that room. Yeah. Anytime someone asks me to mentor somebody, sit down and talk to somebody about their career, do any of those things, I jump on it because that really feeds me. That helps keep me grounded. To me, that's success, knowing that, somebody learned something from me. Yeah. I think is success. I mean, as far as, at work, this is not linear. So you're going to have really great days and then have a day where you're like, I thought we finally figured this out. And you realize you're back to square one.
Yep.
So I think just being able to, and then just becoming a better leader and realizing that I made a good decision, or stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something I didn't think I could do. That's success too.
Yep. I would agree with that. Yeah. I think that, I share that with you, that love of teaching. And it's funny because early in my career, when I started training, and I was at Susan G. Komen doing grant training, actually, I would have never envisioned myself doing that. And even teaching, and I love it. And I don't know, I've been doing it for a decade almost, yeah. Right? Maybe even more. I still get, when we start, even the first days, I still get those little
butterflies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we start and the conversation takes over and I'm with you. I leave there thinking, oh, man, that was amazing. Right? Yeah. And it's just the conversation. It's the excitement that they have coming into the space and their ideas. And it's just really remarkable. But when I think back to if you would have asked me 25 years ago, would I be, an instructor at Rice talking about volunteer management, I would have been like, no.
No. Right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
But it is one of my favorite things every year. It is that part of it. And when I look back over my career, developing teams and leaders and helping people see themselves the way I see them and what they're capable of doing.
Absolutely.
I think it's one of the best parts of this job.
I would agree. 100%. Yeah.
So when was it in your career that you realized you wanted to be in leadership?
Well, I mean, when I was 5, because
Because you were already like,
I was
ruling the.
bossy. Come on. I was leading everything. My brothers will tell you. I thought I was in charge of everything, and that has not stopped.
Yeah.
I've definitely mellowed, and I absolutely understand and believe in the importance of hearing all the voices.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in some way I was going to lead something. I think that's an important point. And to your point just now, when you're developing leaders, really, I think getting people to understand that they can be a leader no matter what their position is, whether it's a position at work, a position at home.
Yeah.
What are those leadership qualities that you can develop in yourself?
Yeah.
That can make you a leader. Even having, I'm thinking about having conversations with our friend group about topics that are important to me or to them, and being able to articulate those and take a stand on something. That's leadership. Anytime you make a decision or invite people into a conversation, that's leadership. So I think there's a whole, there are many different definitions and ways that you can lead.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, because I know this is really important to you, about servant leadership. And what does that mean to you? And how do you see it kind of play out, both immediately in your organization, then also as you think about the sector? Do you think it's something that our industry says or actually embraces?
That's a big question. Well, I think first of all, what servant leadership means to me is what we've been talking about, and that is really investing in other people, understanding what we're doing this for. It's really about them and not us. I get very uncomfortable when people want to heap praise on, what I do or what I do every day. To me, it's what I do. It's a calling, and I believe in it. But yeah, really focusing on other people, whether it's leaders that you're developing, your clients, the people that you're serving every day, really trying to keep the focus on them. I'm a big believer that whoever the best person is for a job, for a speaking engagement, for a visit with a donor, for a visit with a volunteer should do it. It doesn't have to be me. It can be, someone who's delivering a program every single day. It can be another volunteer. It can be our wonderful person at the front desk. They're being a leader. So I think that servant leadership is really a focus on others. Does our sector do it? I mean, I think in theory, yes. But one thing that I've learned, and I learned this early on when I first took a job in my church, I think everyone's perfect at church. Well,
for that 1 hour that you're there,
we're all people, and we all come with our own experiences, our own views of things, our own, everyone has you've heard that phrase, everyone has something going on. It's true. And so I think keeping that in perspective, I think in theory that's why we're in the field that we're in. That's why helping organizations pop up. We want to do something good for someone. And so I tend to believe that people are inherently good, and that our sector is inherently good. Then you get down to all the mess of it. You have to raise money, bureaucracy, red tape, HR, all the things that make it really fun. But I think at the end of the day, yes, in our nonprofit sector, especially social services, servant leadership prevails.
So let's talk a little bit about challenges in this sector, because they're They are
There's a
abundant these
few.
days. How do you think? I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, right? What do you think is kind of the constants that we're always trying to kind of battle with? And what do you think has emerged over like the last 3 to 5 years?
As a sector, as a
Mhm.
leader,
Both as in the sector, but also as executive leadership in this space.
well, I think as a sector, I mean, I'm a social worker. And so I think that we will always have people. We will always have uh, people who are at risk of something.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we could solve all of the problems. And I think all of the problems are much bigger than us. And I've been having a lot of meetings with colleagues and other social service agencies lately, and just really, really wanting to. I'm a collaborator, and I always simplify it in my head. If we could all just sit down and talk about what's really happening, but there's always special interests.
Yeah.
What I hate to
Yeah.
see is that we all feel like we're competing in some way, usually for dollars. And it would be great if we weren't having to do that. And I'm so sorry to say that when people ask me what a big challenge is, I keep saying it's money, but funding for a nonprofit is you can't do your work without it. And you have to be able to pay people. And it does you no good to have a staff who's worried about how they're going to eat and put gas in their car. How are they going to come and help someone else?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big challenge. Then it gets bigger than us, and a lot of really good organizations have gone under or lost funding because of cuts to different programs that help people. I say frequently, what kind of world do we want to live in? Think about what kind of world you want to live in. What do you want to see when you walk down the street? Do we want to see people fed and housed and thriving? Well, then we have to go to work and figure it out. So yeah, at the root of it, and I think also a challenge that we've all seen is people not coming together to work on a problem and trying to solve it. Just kind of, really focusing on their own special interests. And that I'm not just talking government. I think it happens.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Across the sector.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah.
I definitely, I'm probably one of the reasons another reason we are friends, because I agree. I think there's, collaborative in approach and nature, in every space of the sector I've been in, because I feel like the issue is so much larger than any one organization. And so if we really want to maximize impact, being able to leverage what each organization brings to the table is ideal. But Absolutely. It's also incredibly hard to do, right? Because at the end of the day, we are competing for dollars, even, across, even if we're in different spaces in the sector, right? Ultimately, we are, right?
Absolutely.
It is about market share.
Yeah.
When you cut it all away. And I think that's the other, we've had this conversation, and I think that's what I see now being here for 20 plus years and being in this role for almost 9 years. And there's this, I still think we have this, I will say, opportunity to really help leaders coming in the space have a deeper background and experience and skills around executing businesses. Right? Because at the end of the day, we are a nonprofit, but we are a business. That's a tax status for us, basically, right? But we are a business, and I think so many come into, especially the executive leadership, having that functional expertise, understanding what it's like, boots on the ground, but that you have to shift that when you're in leadership, right? I mean, that was, I think, one of the hardest things for me to learn was when you're so successful at executing that functional expertise and checking those things off your list and seeing very tangible results of your work. And then you move into leadership and you recognize that happens rarely, actually,
That's
right?
right.
That you see very tangible results. And I think that was one of the, I had an incredible mentor who has also been on this show. And that was one of the things she really helped me understand was, that the success, the looks very different at the leadership level in the sense of what is the output. But that was a big shift. But
It
I
really
think
does.
when I look at the sector, I wish we had that more investment in that capacity to understand all facets of executing a business, to just deepen and strengthen our positions, right? To be able to be innovative and have funds and understand how to utilize branding to drive revenue and all of those pieces that you have to have in order to really be
You
successful.
do. But of course, as you know, we learn a lot of that on the job as we go.
We do.
And it's interesting because I will tell you, I believe that I'm a lifelong learner. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at all the extra things that you do, and I'm trying to figure out how you do it. But I can honestly say that I probably learn something new either about myself, about what I didn't know, about the sector, about child welfare, every day. And, I can either look back and say, wow, I really messed that up, or I can move forward and do it differently. And, as you were talking, I don't know, something brought me back to, you're right. We do have to be strategic in this position. But when you ask me how I stay grounded, I will say that one way that I stay grounded is I really try to, as often as I can, and it's never often enough, really go into the neighborhood, go see the kids, go talk to the foster parents. We had a lunch and learn yesterday with about 15 moms who have been through our program with their kids. And it was just amazing to see them get together and have a good time. And those are other times that keep you grounded. And we need that. We need the mission moments, so that we can talk about what we do to other people, or with other people, and stay grounded with the reason we're doing this, because it gets really easy to just think about those challenges and, the funding and the HR and the things that really are daily challenges.
Yeah, I would agree with you. We're going back to our why. Why does this matter? And to that point of, right, we may not change the world, but we change someone's world each day, right? And that ultimately, for me, I have to remind myself, this is why we do the work. Right?
Absolutely.
So I agree with you. And we have really cool process. And it was amazing because when I worked at Komen, I would say rarely did we get like written success stories. But here we get success stories, probably like 10 of them a month.
That's great.
And it is so amazing and they're all written. So they're still taking the time to write something, right, about themselves and the service and sending it to us. And I think that says so much to me that, we did a good enough job that they took the time to write to us. And I love that.
Great.
I love getting them, and we read them. And most of the time we share them out to our board. But I love that part of the work too, of, knowing that, and you're right. Every day there is something in this role. Every day there is something. Many days there are many things.
Yes.
Yeah. But coming back to that piece of when you cut it all away, this is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So when you think about your legacy, like when you look back over your career and you think, I want people to remember X about my career, my legacy, what does that look like for you?
Well, I mean, I'm always gratified if someone says that they learned something from me, that they admired something that I did, that it inspired them to do something. You know, I was just thinking about that. We had a staff member who lost a parent last week, and when I went to the wake, and I was just thinking, what would I want people to think when I die? Not to be morbid, but it's
Right.
along the lines of what you just asked, you know, that I touched them in some way. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be what I did for a living, but I think that's that whole servant leadership idea. And trust me, I could be a lot better. I'm not the most thoughtful person. I'll put it that way. I'm pretty stoic and put my head down and get some stuff done. But I got a text this morning from a friend and colleague who sent me a little picture of something and said that she admired that I did this every day, right? That's what it's people. At the end of the day, we're here for relationship, whatever that looks like. So to me, that's what matters. I don't need my name in lights. You know, we all impact people in a different way. So for me, that's enough. Yeah.
Connection, right?
Connection. Absolutely.
Connection.
Belonging. Yeah.
Belonging. Back to that belonging.
Back to that belonging. Yeah.
All right. So when you look at the sector, and this will be our last question. So when you look at the sector, what is your hope for the sector over the next 5 years?
I mean, my hope for the sector is that we all come together in some way. Every time I talk to a colleague who's running another organization, we all come back to, we're all serving essentially the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Your mission is way different than my mission, but I will bet you that if we talk to some people, they would all come up with some of the same challenges, right?
Yeah.
And so that my hope for the sector, I would love to see funders get us together. The funders have the big picture. They talk to all of us. They know what we're doing.
Yeah.
They know how we could work together. I really believe that. I would love to see them convene us together to see how we can not only work together to solve a problem, to impact lives, to make it better for people, but also to do it more efficiently. And let's write a proposal together. Let's bring in all of these resources. Let's not reinvent the wheel and, you know, do something that someone else is already doing. You know?
Yeah, I agree. You know, we often kid, but ultimately I do think it's somewhat true of, you know, really there's a million nonprofits trying to solve, you know, 10 problems.
Exactly.
Right? And is there a way we can do it more effectively?
Absolutely.
And I think you're right. And I think that when those investing, right, could have the opportunity to bring those voices together and challenge, I think, us to work more effectively together.
Agreed. I'm going to start working on that, Heather.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
I'm here to help you.
Okay.
I will support you in that.
Great.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you
for sharing your insight and your wisdom and your passion for the sector and for the work you do and for being a great teacher, because you are a great teacher.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So, all right, everyone. Well, we are wrapping up this episode, but as always, you can be a part of the Prevent Blindness family. You can be a volunteer. You can be a donor. You can be an advocate for us. Reach out to us anytime. We are always looking to have people join our PBT family. And thank you again, Melissa. We appreciate you.
My
and
pleasure.
As always, we're always interested in knowing what your vision is. Thanks and have a great day.